All right, and it says we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Wizardly Ramblings, and I am joined by my Lord Captain Commander, Bookborn, on Team Bookborn for SPFBO. She's an amazing booktuber, co-founder of the Indie Fantasy Fund, and the captain of Team Bookborn, and happens to be the wife of one of the most handsome self-published authors in the industry.
Yeah,
How
no
you doing?
complaint. Like I'm not gonna argue with that. I did notice you changed it from Lady Commander to Lady Captain Commander, which is, I think, an improvement.
So I literally I typed it out and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be funny, and then I was like, oh no, that was weird, and then by that point it was too late. What she's referring to is you had a chat earlier this week on Mike's channel, and I was in the comments section, and I was just like the first one commenting, and then I was just being weird.
I tried to comment back, but StreamYard hates me. It never lets me comment in those comment sections. So, but I did read and appreciate it. So, need to let you know.
Yeah, it's funny because I think the way StreamYard works. Hey everybody, I can see your comments. We'll start paying attention to you in a second. But the way StreamYard works is I know if I'm the stream owner, I can always comment, but if I'm a guest, it doesn't always let me do so.
Yeah, because I connected. It was like, oh, just connect your YouTube. So I did, and I signed in, and then it was still like, no.
I appreciate you, Pete. I appreciate you. I am, in fact, always weird. That's what my short was about today. I uploaded a quick short today that I just snipped out of one of my book hauls, and it was just like, why am I the way I am? And I'm still asking, why am I the way I am?
Your shorts, I don't know. People that I know shorts never show up on my shorts feed. Not like I'm on my shorts feed a lot. I need to go.
My YouTube defaults to my shorts feed.
Oh, your default?
Yeah, so when I open it, I have to toggle over to full videos.
Did you choose that?
Maybe.
I don't think mine defaults to shorts. I don't know.
I also have a toddler who fiddles with my phone. So
that's what happened.
Yeah.
They break everything.
It's entirely possible that she just messed with my settings, and this is now my life. Pete is saying, do this.
So, okay. Yes, I know you can do that, but it always stresses me out because StreamYard gives you this whole rigmarole warning about the dangers of opening YouTube in another tab. And so I just don't.
I have 3 YouTube tabs open right now because I was literally going, I was like, okay, me and Bookborn have completely opposite tastes when it comes to books.
Opposite?
We need, well, fairly decently opposite. Not complete opposite, but I was like, we need discussion topics just in case awkward silences ensue.
I'm curious, even if it's not awkward silence, what are you getting me in trouble for? What opinion am I in trouble for?
Anything. I literally just standard fare, how did you get involved in SPFBO? That type of deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got involved because I messaged you and was like, Andrew, do you want to do the thankless job of reading six random books that you don't get to choose?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why any of you guys.
Oh, I'm being called out. Oh, that's not nice.
You can say that about any booktuber.
Yeah, and we all are a chatty bunch. No, it was funny because last year when Leslie got picked for SPFBO, I was just like, dang it! And I was just like, hey, if a slot ever opens up, my name, just slide that right across the table, and I'll say yes.
Did you message me that?
No, I told Leslie that.
Oh, you told Leslie that. Okay, because I was like, I don't think you told me that, because the funny thing is you were actually on my list for last year, but I kind of was like, I wasn't really paying attention, so I kind of asked, I asked Dom and then Pete and Mitch, and then I was like, oh, now I'm gonna go ask Andrew, and then I was like, now I have already 3 dudes, so now I need to go and even out the group. And so that was literally my only motivation. So then this year when Mitch dropped out, I was like, okay, I'll go ask Andrew. So I was glad you said yes. You were my first pick.
Yay! Victory. Victory. My daughter.
Speaking of that, I've been reading a book recently, and I noticed someone's a name that looked familiar. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Who's that?
What book is that?
It's Zach's omnibus.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's told you that he put your name on it.
Told me. You just broke the news to me.
I know.
That's
It's
so
on his
cool.
paperback omnibus.
I'm gonna have to buy it.
Yeah. You're
Whenever I get blurbed, I have to own the book.
I know. You're so cool. I don't get blurbed. So Olivia Atwater blurbed me on the Kickstarter page. That's not quite as cool as a book, but I did feel excited about it. I was like, look, my review got book. I think I'm really bad at giving blurbable things, though. The SPFBO book I reviewed 2 years ago, they said they were going to blurb me, so maybe I need to go check it out. But they basically were like, could you give me a new blurb, though? Because I watched your video. Like, I really liked this author. I really liked his book. But it was like, I like it, but they're not condensed. Like, I'm not good at giving, like, the bite-sized quote. I think it's a skill.
Once people started asking me, they were like, hey, you said a thing in a video. Do you mind if I just type that out and slap it on my book? And I'm just like, yeah, sure. Or like people would go and say, like, I like this section of your Goodreads like review. Can I use that? And I'm like, go for it.
Yes.
Why not?
So tell me, how many books are you blurbed on then? Give me the rundown.
Stephen Arion's Judas Blossom. I'm in there. A lot of us are in there though. So, but it's still incredibly cool to be on a Trad Pub book. But I'm acknowledged in a fair few. And I'm blurbed on. You're
acknowledged in a fair few. Jeez, Andrew.
I'm blurbed on this
famous.
One. On Cow Blacks.
Is it on the back?
Yeah, right here on the back.
Nice. Oh, look at that.
And then I know I'm on Collation off the top of my head. I think it's Bone Shroud. Am I on Bone Shroud? Yep, right here on Bone Shroud.
Look at this. I'm like in the presence of YouTube royalty.
No, you're not. I am just a dude like Mike with Wi-Fi. And yeah, no, so it is really cool. It's always an incredible honor when that happens. And like, I'm still flabbergasted. Like, like last week, I was like, my dad was like, how's that YouTube thing going? And I just brought him over a stack of books. And I was just like, just flip through and find my name.
That's kind of fun because for people who maybe are like, you're on YouTube, that's like a nice physical like thing to show people. Like, look, I'm legitimate. Look, it's a thing. I review books for realsies.
And yep, JCM acknowledged me in Blood Reunion.
Oh my God, all these authors.
Yeah, I love me my author friends. They feed my ego. Not just kidding. But so you've only done SPFBO the 2 years now?
I mean, technically I've done it 3 years because, but just not as a head judge. Because for SPFBO, what is it? Are we on 9 right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for SPFBO 7, I basically did your job for Book Nest. Okay. They gave me 6 books and I chose a semifinalist. And then the next year, Mark asked me if I wanted to be a main judge when someone dropped out, which is how I got like my format. Because I was like, oh, Book Nest, like that was a good format. Because I enjoyed doing it and it was kind of fun to have a team. And so, so this is only my 2nd year.
Philip's doing it all by himself, isn't he?
Yeah, and good for them. I feel too guilty because I'd have to DNF so freely because I just do not read as many books as y'all. Like, I just don't. And so I wasn't going to be able to do it. So I like it. And plus it's so fun hearing your guys react in our little group chat on all the books. I have so little information. So you guys will just like drop bombs about books in that group chat. And it's kind of a fun time.
I was recently telling somebody about my typo with Barry K. Gregory's book and how I'll never live it down. Because like I just typed it and walked away. And we don't have to tell anybody. It can remain a mystery to everybody in the chat.
What book was it?
It was A Thing Immortal.
Oh yeah. So Andrew typed A Thong Immortal. And now, I'm sorry, was I not supposed to out you? And then we all jumped on him immediately. And we were like, Andrew, what are you reading? And then there's this GIF now of like a pig wearing a thong, and that's just kind of like what we're sharing. It's the Wild West over in our group chat about SPFBO.
Oh, jeez. I'll never live it down. It's fine.
But you guys
it's fine.
are liking them. I feel like you guys, at least, I guess you weren't part of our team last year, but overall, you guys have been way more positive about our batch of books this year than I feel like.
I think there's some good critique going on too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
people are, everyone has a book they like at least.
Yes. So far, I've got one up for contention that I know is up for contention. Mum's the word on that one. And then I've got two that I still need to read. And I'm very excited to see how those kind of shake out. I might, because I'm floating right through the month when it comes to my reading. And so I've only got one more physical read after I finish my arc of The Hunters by David Ragg. So I might have some time to just slot in an additional SPFBO read and see what happens.
Yeah. It's just funny because I told you guys this the other day, but like I've just done nothing yet. And so it's weird seeing all like the frantic work that all the blogs are doing. And I'm like, I'm just chilling. My work doesn't start in earnest until September, and then I'll be miserable. But
well, I hope to give you a good one at least. It's definitely the one I have in mind. It's a darker, slightly long, but not too long. It's got some interesting political things going on. So I'm very.
You're worried though because you say we have opposite taste.
We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have the winner. Maybe. You never know.
Maybe.
You never know. But
yeah, last year I was the lowest. I gave our finalists the lowest of any of the other blogs. Like I wasn't actually super blown away by any of our semifinalists last year. So I'm hoping this year, like, there's a really good one. We're choosing the winner, right? Didn't we already decide that? We're choosing the winner of the whole thing.
That's literally the name of our chat, the group that picks the good books.
Yeah. Did you change that or did Pete change that?
I think that was Pete.
It was Pete.
That's definitely a very Pete thing to do.
Yes.
How did you get started into YouTube? Like, I know I heard the story where Zach just stuck a camera in front of you and said, you hate to waste money. But is that just the base of the story, or?
That's the base of the story. I mean, it really is kind of Zach because I wanted to be a blogger, which I think you knew, like a writing blogger. But I like 6 years ago, I had that idea. I had the blogging website. I had like photos. I had a logo. I had it like all planned out. And then I never did anything with it because we were too busy, like kids working, And so then finally I was like, well, I just got to do it. Am I going to just sit on this dream forever? And then it was like, blogs are dead. And when I say that, I feel like people get offended. It specifically said, if your blog already exists, you can still get audience. But a new blog it's just not going to cut it in 2019 or 2020.
They've come back a little bit, I think. Some have come back.
It does feel like that.
Because like I'll be on
media,
Twitter,
like Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I lost. Can you say something? I think I just lost
Yes, I can say something.
Down for a second. I think they just said that visual media is doing better. So they were like, It wasn't like go on YouTube. It was like do Instagram, do TikTok, do YouTube. So I actually tried my Bookstagram first. And like literally after 2 weeks, I was like, but this isn't what I wanted to do. I wanted long form discussion. So like, even though I love my Bookstagram, it's a very fun outlet. It wasn't. So Zach is the one who's like, you should do YouTube. And I was like, thanks. That sounds like my worst nightmare. He was like, no, you'd be great at it. Because my blog was going to be faceless. I really just like didn't want my face out there. And now here we are.
Did you have a rough adjustment kind of period? Did you go through the ugly duckling phase of YouTube with like bad lighting, awkward pauses?
Have you seen my first videos? Yes. Like
I have not gone all the way back into the annals.
I'm so grateful. If you look at my first video, the one thing I will say about like my first video is I stand by the content. Like my idea for my channel was pretty fully formed and it really hasn't changed much. Like, hey nerds was there, see you after the jump for my very first video, my intro with the music, like it's never changed. Like I had a full vision, but yeah, oh my gosh, it's rough. I'm like not looking at the camera. My lighting's horrible. My sound is super echoey. Like it's just.
I still struggle. Do you see this forehead? You see how like it is light reflective.
Well, and I always look sweaty. Like, I promise I'm not sweating all the time, but I always look shiny. How do we need to figure out how to solve that. I feel like yours looks better because it's not
You think
shiny
so?
at least.
I've
It's
got
more
these.
aura.
I've got these floor lamp LED kind of brick lights, and I want to get like the photography standing ones that look like ridiculous and can light up a whole room.
Yeah, so I want like the what are they called? Like the big box lights.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yeah, they're just so big.
And
We'll
expensive.
have to talk about lighting because I just recently bought LumaCube, which is like box lighting except LED, so it's thin.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think it's been okay. But how did you get started?
I was bullied.
I don't know.
You
were bullied?
I was
you were one of the
bullied
bullied
into it.
people. Okay.
Both
There's a lot of you guys.
both Dom and I have the exact same origin story. We were
Were
both
you bullied by the same person?
There was one person who Megan's reading Revelations jumped
Megan.
on us. Yeah, Megan. For me, it was Megan and Nico.
Okay.
They were just like, because I was in Discord and I would go off on like The Witcher. I would start ranting about how I like just what I wasn't liking, and they were like, "You've got a lot of thoughts. Why don't you just do BookTube?" And so I was like, maybe. Like I found like a little clip of free music, and like I like recorded a like 5-minute video, and I completely plagiarized my format from Nico. Like it was the exact, like it literally it was hello and welcome to my channel, which was exactly what Nico said, because like I didn't think this was going to go anywhere, which is why my channel has changed so much. Like I think I'm on my 3rd introduction, but eventually it was just I kind of just uploaded my video from my BookTube newbie tag, and just to get people to stop bullying me. Like they were just like, "Hey, do it. You need to do it. Stop complaining. Stop making excuses." And so I was just like, "Okay, fine." And then I've grown consistently throughout every month of my time on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's such a learning experience. I feel like I'm learning a new skill, like editing wise or talking wise or whatever, every time.
Nico's here, so yeah.
Oh, good, Nico. Yeah. How do you feel that? Nico, how do you feel that Andrew just like literally stole your whole format? Are you gonna sue?
Please do so. Like,
what's funny when you saying that though is like, I found out that me and Leslie both thought we stole from each other because I came up with Hey Nerds, What's Up on my own. And then like a month into YouTube, I saw a Leslie video and I was like, oh no, she's going to think I copied her. And later when Leslie and I got to know each other, I told her that story and she's like, that's so funny. I thought was word you thought I had copied you because we started around the same time. So we're like, great, we're both good.
Well, hey, it was a great idea. You're both over 10K. So
it was purely saying nerds in the intro. That's the secret, Andrew. So maybe you need to switch up your intro.
I need to switch it up. I need to go back to plagiarizing my format again, don't I?
Yes. If you plagiarize, that's the way to go, I think, ultimately. Okay. Funny about you mentioned Megan, though, because she was one of like the first YouTube people, because you had an advantage, at least, because then you were already in the community. Whereas like I was not in the book community like at all yet. Like as much as I liked books and stuff, like I had not been on Instagram. I had not been on BookTube, nothing. So when I started, I knew nobody. It was hard kind of for me to like get in there, not because people were nice. People were like the nicest people ever. I just like didn't know how to break in. So it's kind of nice when you start that way, like at least you already had like a community around you.
Yeah, and I think it gave me a quick jump in the algorithm because like
people subscribed.
Yeah, I was already in the Discord servers. I was already talking. I was fairly active in at least 3 or 4 Discords at the time. And so that initial rush of subscriptions was just very beneficial.
Yeah, because it took me, because back in the day you had to, what year did you start yours?
I started 2021, March 2021.
Okay, so you started just like 10 months after me. So back in the day, you had to have 100 subscribers to get a channel like URL.
Yep.
And so that's how I specifically remember. It took me like 3 months to get 100 subscribers.
Oh, wow.
Because like I didn't know anyone. Like every one of those subscribers was like hard earned, which was kind of a disadvantage. Also, PJ in the chat, you telling me that is your first video is wild. That is like one of my very first videos. That is like maybe like video 3. I didn't know you'd been around that long. Thanks, PJ. That's nice. You're like an OG watcher, because that was like my 3rd video. And it did really poorly. And I'm sad. I stand by that video too.
Well, I'll now have to go and watch it just to give it a little bit more engagement.
I stand by the content. I cannot stand by how I probably talk or don't look at the camera or my audio quality. So you maybe shouldn't watch it.
Is it the mouth motions?
What do you mean?
You had that really rude commenter.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I forgot about that. Oh yeah. See, I get so many mean comments that at some point I just let it roll off my back. I forgot they said I made weird mouth movements. I did worry about that for a while after that. I had to like ask several people and they're like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it was a completely weird critique. And I was like, Kyle jumped in and like was just making sarcastic, but it was fantastic the way Kyle. I messaged Kyle and I was like, dude, I'm rolling at your response to this guy.
Kyle, Kyle from Read by Kyle, just in case anyone doesn't know who that is. But Kyle, I always call him my channel Avenger, because I feel like I can't always be sassy. And so anytime I complain about a comment, Kyle will go and be like, I got you. I'm just going to say like the rudest thing possible because I'm not you. So I can just say whatever I want. And so I always appreciate that.
Oh, is Alan here?
Yeah, Alan.
Yep, Alan's here. Alan has arrived.
Alan's just always rude to me.
I mean, the first time I ever even knew your name was Hillary was on Alan's channel.
Yeah, it's because I technically try not to say my name on the internet.
No.
However, that's okay. It's unfortunate now that people know I'm married to Zach. It like feels like it's gone a little bit more pointless because Zach's just out there, full face, forced name, and so
fair.
It probably doesn't matter anymore.
It was for Book Jeopardy, and he was just like, oh yeah, Hillary told me to clear the buzzer, and I was just like, who's Hillary?
Yes, clearing the buzzer. That's going to be my BookTube legacy, I think. Eventually, when I quit and am forgotten to the legacy, clearing the buzzer. It's not a bad legacy. I'm proud of it.
Fair enough. Well, I'm sorry I outed your name.
You wasn't just you. A lot of people have, including Alan.
So I'm not the first. Okay. Well, we'll point at Alan and say it's all his fault.
No, in fact, funnily enough, I usually try to tell people, but I often forget because I forget how many people just like have found my name now. And I did Brian McClellan's podcast, and I didn't think to tell him like, hey, I don't put my name like kind of out there. And like his first thumbnail and title was literally like my first and last name, just like totally blasted. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but could you at least take the last name off? Like it's just out there, and you have a very different audience than I do. Anyway,
that's true. Look at you flexing on Brian McClellan's podcast. You got to go to Brandon Sanderson's house.
Yeah, that was. It feels like a fever dream.
That you got to go?
That I got to go.
I know there's an NDA involved because I heard from Murphy that there's an NDA involved. But
well, no, the NDA was just like about like Dragonsteel secrets. Like, okay. Let me tell you the story. Like, we can talk about like the fun we had and all that stuff. Like, that's not under the NDA. But the main person we were with the whole weekend was his social media manager, Octavia, who's amazing. And when she picked us up from the airport in the car, she was like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to have you sign an NDA because Brandon will just literally say anything. And I thought she was joking. And then like we went to dinner and he literally will just say anything. Like, I could not believe the stuff he was spilling. Like, we could ask him anything and he would just be like, oh yeah, let me tell you about that. I was like, no wonder they're having us sign an NDA. Yeah, Zach's kind of grumpy because he doesn't even know. Like, I didn't even tell Zach because I'm like so stressed about the stuff we heard that I have not told a soul. I'm sticking to the NDA. If anyone's listening, Octavia, I promise. Didn't even tell my husband.
It's funny you mentioned the stress response, because I was talking with Murphy. We were doing a Lord of the Rings watch along with Andrew D. Meredith and Patricia Meredith. And I asked her about it, and she kind of froze, and she goes, "How do you know about that?" And I was just like, "It was on the internet that you went to the house." And she goes, "Oh, I thought you were asking something else." And I was just like, "No, Murphy, I don't know any. I just know that you went. There's a whole video on the internet of you at a table at Sanderson's house. That is the information I have."
I'm glad Murphy feels the same way. I owe that whole trip to Murphy, so I'm forever in her debt because, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I think they had someone drop out.
Mm-hmm.
And Murphy suggested my name. And so I will forever be so grateful. But yeah, it's like a fever dream. I don't know. It was it sounds dramatic, but it's literally an experience I will treasure my entire life. Like one of just the coolest things that I have ever done.
That's really cool. So now for the giggles, I have to ask how you feel about the shaved head.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you. Getting on Reddit, because I discovered the shaved head on Reddit first. Like I hadn't seen the stream yet. And are you on Reddit?
Very rarely. Like I post to a BookTube thread in Reddit, and then I will occasionally check like r/fantasy or Sanderson or but not often.
Okay, so I'm on Creme Posting, which is like the dad jokes, basically. Like it's all like the really memey stuff about Sanderson.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all of these memes about bald Brandon Sanderson. And I was like, what has happened? Like, I was just like, I don't understand. I thought it was Photoshopped. It was just so confusing. And so it was kind of assaulting, to be honest. I felt assaulted by bald Brandon Sanderson. I am not pleased. I was so grateful that I was just...
That it didn't happen while you were there? Let's see. So apparently r/creme posting is amazing.
Shoot, sorry. I think I froze
it's fine.
For a second.
It's fine. I just pulled up Pete's agreeing with you that r/creme posting is amazing.
It is amazing. No discussion, all jokes, which is kind of nice on Reddit because sometimes Reddit can get very tedious.
Yeah. I don't interact on Reddit a whole lot just because usually like I'm on a watch Reddit, Pride and Pinion, r/Pride and Pinion. But there's a lot of just
and the interesting thing, well, I don't know. Are you young, Andrew, before I say something rude about young people?
Define young. I think I'm the same age as you.
You're over 30?
I was born in 1990.
Oh, we're the same age. How fun is that? So I sometimes read that are so insane on Reddit, and then it'll come out later that this person is 14. And I'm like, I need to remember that there are 14-year-olds on Reddit, because then all of a sudden the whole world makes sense. Like these people, the stuff they post, I'm like, you have not lived life. Like clearly this is you are so young. So yeah, I don't do a ton of stuff on Reddit, although I will admit I just use my personal Reddit. So if anyone talks about Bookborn on Reddit, I usually don't respond because I don't want people to see the subreddits I'm a part of personally. Might be embarrassing.
Fair.
How active I am in them.
Mine is Wizardly Reads across pretty much all of my social medias.
Yeah, so because I've had my Reddit account way before I had Bookborn, and so every once in a while I will, but I've kind of stopped. But I will say this: if you've ever said anything about me on Reddit, I know because I do sort of obsessively search Bookborn on Reddit, so I will know. I know you posted a video about SPFBO on Reddit. Yeah, because I'll see it because I searched that. So
Yeah, no, I was about to say I've never mentioned you on Reddit, and then I was like, well, I did do my SPFB09, like I'm a part of
Yep.
it,
And I
which
saw it.
I was so beyond excited when that happened.
It was fun. But yeah, Reddit should scare you. Am I still
Ryan,
breaking up?
somebody destroyed their internet connection, so she's on a hotspot. So that's why she might be a little bit spotty.
I might be brutal. It's kind of unfortunate. It's the classic. Always have internet problems before you have a live.
You know what? It happens. Occasionally, like I told you, my internet upload and download, and occasionally StreamYard will just drop out for me, anyways. Regardless of my
StreamYard, just
connection.
in general. It's Wild West.
Ryan, survey says this is a lie because you also use Discord. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's funny. I guess Reddit is a social media. I don't consider it social media because I don't make relationships in any way on Reddit. I mostly just read stuff on Reddit, get some information. You know, like Sanderson information goes up Reddit pretty quick.
So
but I
you're
guess it
saying
is
you're
a
a creme poster on Reddit?
I have never made a creme post because I'm not clever enough, but I do read creme posting.
Oh, this is true. So Nico is reminding me of a fact where we did a we did a live
Was
show.
Nico in charge of the stream and dropped out?
Yes, and so then literally it was just me on his channel for like 5 minutes. Just I don't remember what I didn't do anything super bad, but yeah, that was fun. I forgot about that. I got you, Ryan. I got your back, bro. Nothing but love.
Yeah, Discord. Let's see.
Oh, apparently Alan is hosting sprints right now.
Oh, sorry, Alan.
It happens.
You know, Nico, the first live show I ever did, there was this giant storm outside my window. And the first stream I ever did was a spoiler stream for Rhythm of War.
Okay.
And I had asked Elliot Brooks and the 17th Shard to be on there. And you have to understand, like, I break out in hives asking people to be on lives with me because I have huge social anxiety. And so I asked people I didn't know. And all I could think, and this was like my early YouTube days where everything stressed me out. And then it's like hailing outside. I just thought, the power's going to go out and it's going to ruin everything and everyone will hate me. And that was so stressful.
I've never interacted with Elliot, but she seems very understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would have been fine. It just would have been embarrassing for me personally, like especially because I was so tiny at the time. And those were just like the Sanderson people I watched. Alex was on that little stream too. It's just funny because I was like so stressed about asking Alex. And now I'm like, well, Alex and I are like friends now. But at the time, like I wasn't friends with anybody. So it was stressful to ask anybody to be on a live.
If you're talking about Alex Nieves is super laid back.
Well, I know. That's the thing. Like the idea of being like nervous to ask Alex Nieves for something. He was like the most laid back person, but I didn't like really know him at the time. And so anyway, it's just funny. I still get nervous, but like less nervous now because I have a core people that I know that I can just ask and know that if they say no, it's not personal. Yeah. Like I don't have to be stressed about it, you know?
I love that, like, you know, because it really feels like YouTube has a community, or at least our corner has a community that interacts and we cross over constantly. I mean, I've been on Phillips, I've been on Alan's, I've been on Joanna's, I've been on just numerous people's channels. And it you know, I can ask them to come on mine, they can ask me to come on theirs. And it's just really great that there's not a whole lot of tension involved in that.
No, you know, I'm on NewTubers on Reddit, which is like a place for the new, like, you know, aspiring YouTubers. Okay. And it's so funny hearing about all of the other niches and like all the drama. And I'm like, look, if there's drama in BookTube, I'm sure I don't know about it because like my little corner is all very friendly. Everyone's like really welcoming. People are always bullying you to get started. It doesn't feel very competitive. Like I have never felt that any of us are competing against each other.
No, and I love that. It's never my growth at the cost of yours. It's always let's grow together.
Yes. And also, I think it's because there's an understanding that none of us are really going to grow that much in fantasy booktube. Like, it's not like we chose a niche that's going to get like a lot, you know, you're not going to blow up with that, which is fine because we all got in it because we love it, which is, I think, why it's so enjoyable as a community.
Like, it's so rare for fantasy to explode. So, like, I can name maybe 5 channels that are over 100K.
You can name 5 channels?
I think. Elliot, Mike's almost there, so I guess I have to remove.
I was going to say Mike doesn't count, but he's almost there. Because Elliot,
Yeah,
Mike, Murphy, Daniel. Who am I missing?
Elliot's over 100.
Oh, did we? I already said Elliot.
Oh, Elliot, Murphy,
Elliot,
Daniel.
Mike, Murphy, Daniel. Captured in Words is close.
He's last I looked, he was at 75.
75. So he's kind of up there. Because the only other person I can really think of is Man Carrying Thing, but he really like isn't a fantasy booktube channel. Like, he does fantasy adjacent and he does a lot of other stuff. So I don't know if it really counts as fantasy.
Yeah, he's at 226 the last time I looked.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like it's not the place you go to get like giant, which is fine. No one cares. But yeah, it's made it a very welcoming community.
I honestly, like, I got to talk with Patrick earlier this morning for a collab, and that was a lot of fun to finally get to speak with him. He didn't know that my wife was Chinese, and so he heard me use a Chinese term, and he just it was funny watching his face just kind of go, "What just happened?"
What?
He just kind of looked at me. He was like, "Wait a minute," and he just flat out asked me, "He's like, is your wife Asian?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "That I didn't know."
Blows my mind.
Yeah, that was fun. Where did you end up ranking that? Let's talk about a book. Where did you end up ranking in the Cosmic or in Stormlight? Where did you rank Rhythm of War?
It's third.
It's
wait, in Stormlight? Third over, third all Cosmere or third Stormlight? Sorry.
Stormlight.
Oh, in Stormlight, it's third.
Third.
But I am a Rhythm of War apologist. I loved Rhythm of War. It's just that Words of Radiance and Way of Kings are so good that they beat it out.
But you don't like Oathbringer.
I like Oathbringer too. It's just that, like, Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and Rhythm of War were 5-star reads. Oathbringer was like a 4-star read. So it was still really good. Is Oathbringer your favorite?
My number 1.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say about Oathbringer. I liked it so much more on the reread. So that rating is based on the first time reading it, and I felt like the Shadesmar stuff dragged a lot the first time I read it.
Okay.
But then the second time I read it, when I already knew what happened, like, then I thought Oathbringer was like on par with the rest. But if I honor like my first reading experience, then Oathbringer was my least favorite to read through.
I think Oathbringer got me the deepest in my emotions. Just because you get to explore so much of Dalinar. I thought it had the best flashbacks. I thought it had one of the best endings.
Rhythm of War for sure has the worst flashbacks.
Yes.
By far. Like, my biggest complaints about Rhythm of War were the flashbacks. I did not like them, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was a missed opportunity to explore more of Navani.
That's a good point. I would have loved Navani backstory.
Yeah, we get this kind of kernel at the beginning in the prologue that things aren't as we have perceived them throughout the entirety of the series, and then we never really come back and address it again.
Huh.
And instead,
I think Brandon probably wanted to do like a singer, but my biggest complaint, I mean, besides the fact that they were kind of boring and kind of retread too much ground, I didn't like that it rewrote history for me a little bit, even though it didn't, obviously, because that was clearly what Sanderson had planned.
Mm-hmm.
I just, with Ishonai and what's the other sister's name? I'm like totally blanking.
Eshonai, and I don't remember the other one.
I know. There you go. Okay. It was just like there was this, I liked the push and pull of one doing what they thought was best and the other one doing what they thought was best, and that person was really wrong. But in the
Mm-hmm.
flashbacks, it kind of tried to rewrite that, like, oh, she was actually the one who cared the most. And I was like, I think it would have just been more interesting for her background to be like, look, I messed up. Like, I messed up, I did the thing, and Venley, oh, thank you. Venley,
Yeah.
just to be like, look, I messed up, I did the wrong thing, now I have to come back from that. But instead it was kind of trying to excuse it, and I just didn't love that personally as a narrative.
Yeah. That makes sense. I actually rank Rhythm of War as my 4th.
I figured. I think most people rank Rhythm of War as their 4th.
Well, it was funny because there was a lot of recency bias when it first came out. And like people were like arguing with me, it's the greatest Stormlight, it's the greatest Stormlight. And then the further you got away from it, it started kind of dropping in the rankings. And then, like, Words of Radiance and Way of Kings kind of retook their rightful places.
Most of the people, like, I knew, like, in my real life, I guess, I don't know, BookTube's real life too, but they didn't, like, all my friends who read Sanderson, which isn't many, like 3 or 4, none of them really loved Rhythm of War. So, like, from the beginning, I felt like I had the unpopular opinion about Rhythm of War. But that is interesting. I think there is a recency bias, and you need to, like, cool the grounds before you can really decide where it stands. I don't know. I like science. So give me fantasy science and I'm happy. So Navanian, Rabbaniel, or whatever. I just liked it.
That's fair. Then that storyline would appeal to you. Do you like steampunk?
No. Well,
No.
I'm not drawn to steampunk. I wouldn't say, like, I won't read steampunk or something. I'm not drawn to it. Like, I felt like Era 2 was kind of steampunk vibes lightly.
Okay.
Not my thing. Era 2 is like,
I liked the first book of Era 2, and I liked the 4th book of Era 2. I did not like the 2nd or 3rd book of Era 2.
Second, supposedly, everyone claims is the best. I think I like Bands of Mourning the best. But overall, I just like, look, a lot of, gotta be careful not to say spoilers. Like, a lot of dramatic things happen in book 4, and none of them elicited any emotion from me. I was just like, okay.
Okay.
So I just feel like, I feel like that means something.
I wasn't going to read the 4th book for a couple months, and then Nico was like really like into it, and he was just like, hey, you're gonna read this with me right now. And so, like, he basically sent me the audiobook, and he was like, start listening to this now, we're gonna talk about it. And I was like, okay, that's fine, fair enough.
And you loved it.
I did. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a return to form for Sanderson after because I was dreading the 4th book, because I remember I forced myself to read the 2nd and 3rd book of Era 2. And so I wasn't really super looking forward to it. And I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it. How have you felt about the secret projects? Have you read 3 yet?
I only read Tress, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
My main problem with Tress was it felt... How do I say this nicely?
You don't have to say it nicely.
Well,
who's going to be offended? You do know what I mean?
Yeah, plenty of people will be offended. No, so there were a lot of elements about Tress that I really enjoyed. Like that first third, I really enjoyed. And then I liked the first part of the journey that she goes on. I'm trying to say this non-spoilery. But he used certain characters in an experimental sort of way. And I felt like he did, and I think he mentions this later on in like the afterword or something, where he was trying to figure out how to use a certain character in a new and interesting way. And he used Tress as an experiment. And I felt the experiment didn't work with that character. So that's where I'll go with that, because it made the character silly ha-ha instead of conniving silly ha-ha. But that's my thoughts. So I haven't continued with the secret projects yet. I'm pre-offended. Let's see. I thought Tress was okay, but I'm also not the kind of fairy tale style of story. I liked Frugal Wizard a lot more. We'll be getting that's all, folks. Getting to the new one soon. So I've heard Yumi is great.
Frugal was my lead. I'm surprised you liked Frugal, Nico, because I really disliked, not really, I disliked Frugal Wizard, and I feel like I guess it's his lowest rated book right now. I don't know a lot of people who enjoyed it.
Really? So is it lower rated than Elantris? Because I liked Elantris.
I think it is lower rated. I'm not sure. People are claiming that. I have not. I should be clear. I have not personally researched that claim. But I was going to say before I blocked out.
Nico says you were so offended that you just pretended to be frozen.
I don't know what character you're talking about. So after it's over, you should tell me who it is. I really liked Tress. I wonder if you'll like Yumi. You have any plans to read it?
I will eventually read both Frugal and Yumi.
Okay. Yeah, Frugal,
I have every intention to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. Frugal just fell really flat for me. But Yumi I really liked. I will say, though, what you said, I do think the first third of Tress is the strongest part of Tress.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with that sentiment. It was certainly my favorite part of the book. Tress is strong for me simply because I am quite into worlds. And so if a world is strong enough, it will pull a lot for me. And I did like the spores and the moons and that sort of situation.
Pete, this is a complex answer.
Pete's doing this to stir drama.
Yeah, so it was funny while I was reading Warbreaker, I wanted it to be over with. After I finished Warbreaker, it stayed with me for months. So I like Warbreaker because it was one that made me think about it months after I finished reading it. But while I was reading it, and I've only read it the one time, so I've never revisited to see if my opinion has changed. While I was reading it, it wasn't my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, Warbreaker is my favorite Sanderson. And actually, the book I usually list as my favorite book of all time, if someone presses me. Yeah.
Well, so we kind of meet in the middle because it captured my imagination after I was done reading it. Like my brain was making up scenarios in that world where, like, well, what if these characters did this, and how did this magic system work? And I get hung up on stupid details all the time. And
I mean, we all have those things we get hung up on.
The thing that hung me up on Warbreaker was that my brain told me that the magic system wasn't sustainable. And Sanderson's kind of addressed that because, there's the world hopping and stuff like that throughout the Cosmere, where a lot of people go and search for other sources of magic. And so, like, I feel like I'm kind of justified in thinking that it wasn't sustainable, but also, like, he hasn't come right.
So it's interesting because I always thought the fact it wasn't sustainable was the point, like, within the larger Cosmere, because like that is the worst, by far, what we've met, the worst form of investiture, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that makes it interesting as a world hopper. But I can understand that in isolation that might bother you because you'd be like, well, how can this world sustain itself? I did not think that deeply about it the first time I read it. So maybe that's my own problem.
It was just this one singular detail that hit my brain and wouldn't leave. Because they give you the mathematics, and so then my brain tried to take the mathematics and do the math with it, and I couldn't get it to stop. So
I've read Warbreaker several times, but it has been a while since I've read it, so maybe I need to reread it. But I have reread it a bunch. What?
I do have a signed Warbreaker.
I do too. I actually have two signed Warbreakers.
You've got the nice signed Warbreaker, I bet. You've got the leather bound?
Yeah, so I've got the leather bound signed Warbreaker, and then I have my paperback that's signed. And then actually, when we were at Sanderson's house, they gifted us a signed leather bound Warbreaker. And I was like, everyone was so excited. I was like, this is embarrassing. I already own all your leather bounds. Like, whatever. So I gave it away to a friend, actually.
That's the one that I truly want because I love the purple and the sword on the cover. So that's
It
the
is
one.
my favorite leather bound.
Yeah.
Although I will say the one that surprisingly gives it a run for its money that I only bought because I'm a completionist was Alloy of Law and Shadows of Self.
Oh, really?
Because I don't love Era 2, but at this point I own all the I might as well just keep going.
Yeah.
But I
Shoot,
love that the leather they used is different and I really like the texture of it. It's really cool.
Very nice. Yeah, if I ever shell out for a leather bound, it'll probably be Warbreaker. And I will. Zach says that the leather bound was the inspiration for the Kickstarter design, which I have on the way. Once that dispatches, I will be at my front door, just watching.
It's not on the way yet, but it will be.
it will be on the way. Fine.
I have some insider info.
Don't rain on my parade.
About that one.
I'm so excited. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the Indie Fantasy Fund and how that came about and what it does and all that.
Yeah. Indie Fantasy Fund. I guess this is our second year we did it. I don't know, Zach, you're in the comments. How did we? I don't even know.
You can bring him on camera. You can just go get him and make him talk.
Well, I know. I'm just come in here. I'm trying to think when did we sit down and think about it? Because what happened is we've had conversations before because we kind of always talked about it's kind of unfortunate. We are very lucky and fortunate that we can fund nice art for your books and editing and his you can come in here and his his audiobook, that is a lot of cost up front. And we're lucky that we can take our hobbies and spend money on them. You're going to come say hi.
Hey, gorgeous.
We're lucky that we can just spend money on hobbies. I bought you that shirt.
I love that shirt.
And I'm trying to put this in between us. Just talk loud. And I won't talk loud. And kind of feel guilty about that because there's going to be a lot of really great self-published, but unfortunately in self-published, you need a cover, and having an audiobook gives you significant advantage. And
audio was the real one.
Audio was the one that made us realize
my books aren't even very long, and they cost over $3,000 each to create the audiobook. And that was the big moment for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really expensive. No wonder people don't have these.
Yeah. But I mean, can you remember when did it?
I'll tell you what happened is when I started publishing, I had no plans on anyone reading my books.
That is true.
And then people started reading it, and then I started making money from it, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, what if we just instead of we don't need the money. So we're like, well, what if we just help people that do?
No, you're right.
Just take my funds that I earn and then give it to
That's what it started as. You're right. You had a good it was maybe at the end of the year you were looking back how much you made over the year. And we were like, wow, that's really crazy. And then we're like, what if we just gave that away to help other people? That you're right. That is what happened. So it was at the end of the year. And then it was really rewarding to do that, to help people feels good and to be a part of the community. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really fun. It also is a lot of work. And so when we're in the middle of it, sometimes it's less fun.
It's a slog.
There was a time we put the kids to bed.
I'll go back.
Wow. Okay. Bye.
I'm gonna need a link to that shirt.
The link to the shirt? I'll send it to you. I got it off Etsy. One time we put the kids to bed, and this was June 1st, and I was like, Zach, we are supposed to be announcing the winners this month. You and I are going to lock ourselves in the office, work back to back until we have an idea of what is happening. Because going through the submissions is sometimes hard when it's just the two of us. Because it's just so much to read because we ask everyone for 10 pages. Anyway, so it's been really fun and a great way to get to know more people within the indie fantasy community.
Well, you guys are rock stars for even doing it. So
no.
It's
lucky.
Not everybody would do that.
Well, there's just so many people who have helped us, And so it just feels nice to try to help back. We like, you know, when he started writing those books and when I started BookTube, like neither of us thought these were going to be successful things. These were like literally just a fun hobby to do fun things. And so it's kind of been interesting how it's evolved. Like just definitely not 3 years ago is just, this is not where we expected it to be. I think the biggest thing, we just didn't expect such a community. Like it's been one of the most rewarding things about the book community for sure.
That's awesome. And it's a pleasant outcome as well. Like, were you both like, obviously he was writing a fantasy book, but were you both just fantasy nerds?
Yep. Me more so than him. I mean, I think what happened is I've been a fantasy nerd my whole life. Like, I think I was like, I came out of the womb, like somehow already committed to the fantasy cause. And I would say like Zach dabbled, but then when we got married, it was like I reintroduced it to him again. Like, cause he kind of dabbled and then kind of fell out of it. And then I reintroduced it full force. But he did like always write like a lot of poetry. He was like a songwriter. So he's always written a lot. And so then it was just like after he got back into fantasy, he decided to write a book.
What got him back into fantasy? Was it Sanderson?
Yes. But in a roundabout way, because he was reading other stuff with me, he actually read Sanderson before me.
Really?
Yes. Because he had started on Wheel of Time and then gave up, and I finished Wheel of Time. And then
he gave up.
Yeah, he gave up at like book 8.
Zach. Okay, well, that is the slog.
Yeah, I don't think, and when everyone hears where he gave up, they're like, oh, well, yeah, okay.
I recently gave up on book 9. Like, I think it was book 9 or 10.
Well, he might have been book 9. It was
my like 4th or 5th reread, and I was just like, I don't have time for this. My TBR, book 10 is
Zach claims
terrible.
it was book 10. I don't think it was book 10. We argue about this. He thinks it was book 10. I'm convinced it was book 9 because I feel like by the time he got to 10, he was so close to the Sanderson books. He would have just kept going.
If it was Crossroads, that's where I quit, because Crossroads just is not.
Crossroads is the worst, hands down. Everyone agrees. We all Crossroads. You can skip Crossroads and lose nothing, but
pretty much
because Wheel of Time was like really my crossover from YA to adult fantasy, because I had kind of resisted for a while because I was worried adult fantasy would have a lot of stuff I just personally don't like to read. And so, but then we had a friend. I always love telling this story. We had a friend in college who gave us the bootlegged Mistborn PDFs.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was like, you should read this. And Zach read it and was like, this is the best trilogy I've ever read. You have to read it. And so then I read it. But I like to tell that story only because I have given Sanderson so much of my money at this point that there is no way he could complain that we bootlegged his original trilogy. I own that trilogy in 3 different formats now. So like,
I think you've paid your dues.
I've paid my dues is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plenty of plenty of advertisement on your channel. I mean,
because Sanderson needs my advertisement. Of course. I'm sure I'm helping.
maybe it was an evil master plan to invite you to his house and get revenge for those bootleg copies.
That is what it was. I should have taken more caution.
Yeah. Your house is probably infiltrated in some way.
It's bugged.
He's got people.
But yeah, so he was the first one. And yeah.
So that just led to the creation of Threadlight?
Yeah. I mean, he could probably tell you more. But he wrote it for a while and then got really serious and finished it during paternity leave for our second kid, because he got 3 months of paternity leave.
Oh, wow.
And
Jealous.
So, yeah, real great. That's why you work in San Francisco, because they just spoil their engineers. And so he actually got 4 months of paternity leave, but he only took 3 months of it. And so
I got a month for each of my kids.
Well, at least you got something. Like some people get nothing, especially if you're the father. But the company he was at the time had decided to make sure that mothers and fathers got the same amount. Actually, mothers got more for a little bit. Anyway, that's not besides the point. Really great paternity. So that's when he finished it up. And ironically, that was kind of like the same time I started getting ready to start my channel. We kind of did it in that little like 3-month period.
Okay, fair enough. Now I do have a question because it's something I've always wanted to know. Why the Captain America shield?
Oh, Zach bought that, and he was like, wouldn't it be cool if we had something that was really punchy? Like, what's gonna be like eye-catching? Like, that was like literally the only reason. It was like, what could be eye-catching back there? And he was like, what about a great Captain America shield? And I was like, awesome. Like that, it was. We got it off Etsy. That was like, that is the full.
When I first discovered your channel, I didn't even notice you. I just noticed the Captain America shield. Like, I'm sitting there watching your video going, man, that Captain America shield is huge.
And it's heavy. And the funny thing is, I have to get a picture. Zach, I bought for Christmas a full cosplay for Zach. So he has like a full, like fancy cosplay. Like if he puts it on, I'm like, dude, you look pretty good. Cause he's got like kind of like the look of Captain America. And so, yeah, but
he's got the wavy hair and.
Yeah. Like, and he used to be blonde and he has blue eyes, you know? So our office where I'm filming right now is at the very front of our house. Okay. And the doors into the office are glass paneled, so you can always see into the office. Nobody enters our house without commenting on the Captain America shield. Like nobody. Like the plumber coming to fix our bathroom, like the electrician. Everyone is like, so what? Can I go look at that? And so we're so glad we bought it. It's like such a good conversation starter.
So is it plastic or is it metal?
Oh, it's metal. It's heavy.
Oh,
and it has leather straps on the back, like.
So it's like a legit
cosplay
replica.
Is like leather and cloth. Like we got like a really nice cosplay. So
you know what? Just as revenge, you should make him carry it around DragonCon, and like by the end of it, he's not allowed to put it down.
I mean, how are we getting it to DragonCon?
I'm sure you could ship it somehow.
If you want to pay for the shipping on that, yeah. So Zach was saying,
I don't personally want to pay for the shipping on that. You know, I heard tell that Pete would volunteer to pay the shipping on that.
Yeah, and then like the wrapping of it.
Yeah. No, Pete's all over that.
I can tell. He's like asking so many questions. He's really invested in the.
Yeah, he's very invested. He wants the pictures. He wants the cosplay. He wants it all.
I will. So, I'll send our group chat the photo.
Yes. Yes, I get to see this.
Yeah, and we'll just let Jordan and Dom be confused at why it's coming in there.
JCM says he'll drive it to DragonCon. Of course, I think JCM's in like New York though.
Okay, so you're gonna drive to Seattle and then drive back to DragonCon?
He's committed.
Great.
He is a soldier for the cause.
Cross-country road trip.
For this shield. Where he's gonna vlog the entire experience. It's gonna turn into an epic journey.
It'd be viral.
And he's just gonna upload it to YouTube for content.
I mean, we would allow it. If you're gonna do it, we won't complain. You can use it for content.
Boom. Somebody just told me I needed to drive to Nico's house and then basically leave my wife and kids with his wife. And then we go on a road trip together and vlog the entire experience.
I'd watch it.
I was down for that, but I was told in no uncertain terms, absolutely not.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I've got 2 kids. One and 3.
1 and 3. Oh, you got toddlers. You got 2 toddlers. They're not kids yet. That's an important distinction because they're harder.
Yes. Yeah. My son is just now starting speech, so he's got like 4 words that he can speak. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an adventure every single day. Oh, cool. Nico, we'll make it happen. Perfect.
Nico, how many kids do you have? Because it might be the Wild West. 0. Okay. So that's not so bad. They'll be fine. That's a person per child. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So it's an even spread. It'll work out just fine. We'll go to like Powell's or something like that.
Oh, I do love this idea that Pete's saying, though. Yeah, you just come and visit all the booktubers, and I can show you around, pals. I went there growing up all the time. I grew up in Portland. That was like
Did you?
the bookstore we loved. Yeah.
So the one thing about Powell's that I really want to see is I want to see the plexiglass wall with all the author signatures, because I know Robert Jordan's on the wall.
We're gonna road trip down and take our kids to Pals. I actually want to do that this summer. I don't know if we're still gonna do it this summer, but I want to go look at that too, because as a kid, I didn't care about that. So like my memories are all like the kids section and like where I would read and hole up and like buy the books and the snacks. And so there's definitely some stuff as an adult I want to go like revisit, since I haven't lived in Portland in so many years.
So how big is Powell's? Because I heard it's like a city block.
It's huge. Yes, it is like a city block.
And it's
like 3 stories. It's huge.
Somebody got banned from Powell's?
Wait, from Powell's? How do you get banned from Powell's? I need more info.
I have questions, and I need...
So we need answers.
I need answers.
Yeah, it's amazing. Overwhelming. All the above. I just have so many good memories of Powell's. I mean, it's not like that was the only one we went to, because it was like a 30-minute drive, 25-minute drive for us. So it wasn't like the bookstore we went to every week. We went to, do you remember Borders?
I remember Borders.
Borders. That was the bookstore we went to a lot.
We just cleaned out my mother-in-law's house because we're getting ready to downsize her. And she had like a bunch of bookshelves. And so like I pulled out a bookmark that was for like the Borders advertisement bookmark for Order of the Phoenix, for like the upcoming release of Order of the Phoenix. Yes. And I thought that
I still have those. I still have those.
Do you?
Bookmarks. Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah, actually for Order of the Phoenix, Order of the Phoenix, we might have gone to a local bookstore for that one, for the midnight release. And my mom or my dad, I don't know who, but they asked for like their promotional materials. So for a while, I had like their giant cardboard cutout with the countdown, because they're like, sure, you can have it. We don't need it anymore. And they gave us like all their extra Harry Potter boxes that the books came in. So we had like a ton of stuff being stored in those Harry Potter boxes for a long time. I wonder if my mom still has any of those. Should ask her. Good times.
You should totally ask her for that. I went to, I think it was Goblet of Fire. I think I went to the midnight release for Goblet of Fire at Borders. That was the only one I ever got to go to. But I remember.
I don't think my parents let me. I think I was too young. I didn't even know Goblet of Fire had a. Well, we're the same age, but my parents didn't tell me there was a midnight release for Goblet of Fire. I'll put it that way. But we went to Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows. We went to all 3 of those. At the local bookstore, they threw a little party. You know what? I've talked to Zach about this all the time. Is anything going to be big enough again to have a midnight book release party like those? Because I want my kids to experience them, and I just don't know if it'll ever happen again.
When's a winter, mate?
Okay. So when I'm 80, my kids will be grown up. I need it to be happening in the next 5 years.
Oh gosh, anything in the next 5 years. I mean, I guess Sanderson isn't technically that big when it comes to releases, is he?
Yeah, and Sanderson's books, they get midnight releases in Provo, where he like lives. Yeah. But I mean like Harry Potter, the only ones I can think of were Harry Potter and Twilight that were such phenomenons, because people are saying, I don't think Harry Potter had a midnight book releases until the 4th book. Mm-hmm. All their movies had midnight releases, but I don't even think Harry Potter was big enough until the 4th book. But I think it's like when we looked up the top 10 biggest first day book sales, I think Harry Potter owns 4 of the top 10 slots. Like, it was insane. Yeah, so that's what I think. I wonder if it's like the digital book sales have ruined it. But I also wonder if there's just, I was working on a video for this, but I don't know if I'm ever just going to be able to do it. But Andrew, here we go. How many books do you think are published every year?
Like published?
Including indie. Like how many new books go on the market every year?
150,000.
Okay. Multiple websites, data websites I've looked up say it's over 3 million.
3 million?
3 million.
And that's across all genres?
Yes. And this number was so staggering. I could not stop thinking about this for days. And I finally was like, okay, well, there's like self-help books and all self-published. So that's like a lot of Amazon books, you know, there's a lot of whatever in there. But millions, you know?
Wow.
And the annoying thing for me is I can't find numbers from like 10 years ago. But I would bet my life on it that number has, you know, the graph of that number would look like this.
Yeah.
As the publishing has changed. And so I wonder if also it's just like the sheer number of options makes it harder for there to be a phenomenon in the same way around a book release. Because movies are more, you know, widespread than books.
Well, even the movie industry is struggling. It's struggling to rebound. Like multiple, like we're seeing the shift. We're in this kind of gray middle ground where superhero movies still work, but they're not working the way they were 5 or 6 years ago.
In fairness, though, that's also because like I'm exhausted. It has been 15 years. Can we do something else? Like
you know what we can do? We can reboot Harry Potter as a TV series for you. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
You know, here's the thing. Like, 18-year-old me wants the TV show. Like, even 33-year-old me kind of wants the TV show. Because I never liked I'm too close to Harry Potter. I'll put it that way. I never liked the movie adaptations, despite their casting being great. I've only seen the movies once because I just didn't like them. And now I'm rewatching them with my son as we read the books together. And I decided I'm totally valid in that opinion. The movies are bad. But I like the idea of it, in fairness. It's just at the time it's coming where I feel like everything is a reboot that is like fatiguing me.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of with you on the movies. I didn't like the first movie because it felt very choppy. And then I didn't like From Half-Blood Prince up because it's a complete departure from the books almost.
I think actually fourth is the worst movie. Like as a diehard Harry Potter fan, I think the fourth is the worst movie.
Is it because they remove Hermione's like big campaign?
No. I think if anything had to be cut, I actually don't think that's necessarily like a super bad choice. But I think, well, anyway, I have something to say about that too. But I think it's because of how they bungled the reveal. Like most of the fourth book is about this very complex story about Barty Crouch. And it's literally a 20-second scene. And I just remember sitting in the theater being like, I couldn't imagine. And anyway, it's been interesting rewatching with my son. Like, I love that I have accidentally passed a sickness on to him because we never say anything about these movies. We want him to enjoy them. So I've never said anything. And every movie we've watched after reading the book, we've done the first 3. He's like, Mom, this isn't how it is. It's not how it's supposed to be. Like, he's always so upset about it because he loves Quidditch. And they win, you know, the Quidditch Cup in the 3rd book. And there's no Quidditch in the 3rd movie. And so we were literally at the climax of that movie. The climax, like when Sirius is escaped or Peter Pettigrew's escaped or whatever. And he turns to me when it's supposed to be intense. And he's like, so they're just not going to show any Quidditch, huh? Like, that's just not going to be in here? I was like, I'm sorry.
Doesn't Harry fall off his broom on the field?
So there's the first match, but then they never show anything else. Like, so they never win the Quidditch Cup, which is like my son's favorite part of the 3rd book. So he was just like devastated.
Never noticed.
Well, you're a fake fan. I don't know what else to tell you, Andrew.
I mean, I haven't reread the books in 10 years, so.
Yeah, I've read the books an embarrassing amount of times. I'm a millennial. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm a little shell-shocked.
Yeah, that was very upsetting for him. So I just know he's going to hate the 4th movie. We just finished the 4th book actually 2 days ago.
It's time. It's time. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
I know he's just going to be so upset. So we'll see. The Wheel of Time show doesn't exist. You know what's funny about the Wheel of Time show is that Rings of Power was so bad, I thought it made Wheel of Time look better, which I thought was really shocking.
What, Rings of Power?
Yeah, Rings of Power was so bad, it made me appreciate the Wheel of Time show.
I made it 5 minutes into Rings of Power. But
wow.
No, I gave it 10 minutes. And I was just like, you know what? This is very, very beautiful cinematography in its first 10 minutes. I'm bored. That's all I gave it.
The show was so boring. And that I always tell people, I'm like, look, my complaint about the show has nothing to do with lore because they didn't have the rights to the Silmarillion, so who cares? I knew it wasn't going to be lore. I just wanted to be entertained. I just wanted to be entertained. There would be times Zach and I were watching that and we'd pause it, like, how much is left? And it was like, there is still half the episode left. It feels like we've been here for 4 hours. It was just so boring. You made a good choice.
No. Wheel of Time, I made it to episode 5. And it was just, I was mad from the first line. I was mad from the first line. The opening line.
They really went so strong from that first line.
Well, okay, so for me, it showed, I can understand wanting to keep it a mystery, like, of who the dragon is. Like, I understand that desire. But to change that bit of lore then shows a clear lack of understanding of the through line of the consequences of the magic system within the world. Because if it's male or female, there's nothing to worry about if it's a female. There's nothing to worry about.
So you know what I think is so funny about that is, so my friend who doesn't read fantasy, this is my best friend growing up, but she watches fantasy shows. So she'll watch like a lot of fantasy shows. So she was watching Wheel of Time, and I kind of texted her because I was upset. And so I always like to text someone who doesn't have the same investment I have, and to help me like deal with things. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I always have to show people, like, I've been wearing an Aes Sedai ring for like 13 years. I've worn it every day.
Is it at least a correct Aes Sedai ring?
No, because it's not gold, because I couldn't afford gold.
If it's as long as it's a serpent biting its tail.
It's a snake biting its tail. It's a snake biting its tail. It was from a fan site. I mean, it was 12 years ago. They had on the show. Well, yeah, we could talk about showing the Aja on the ring. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it, Andrew. It just riles me up. But so I was texting my friend about it, being like, oh, what do you think? And she was like, well, I like the mystery of this whole thing being the dragon, but she's like, it's obviously not going to be a woman, because then there would be no consequences. So who cares? And it was like so interesting to see someone pick up on that immediately. And it also made me angry because it was like, smart watchers already are going to know that it's not going to be a woman. So that change was one of those classic, I want to appear feminist without actually doing any work or anything that makes sense. Okay, let me take a breath.
I didn't like the fridging of Perrin. It did nothing. Except give him trauma that he already had trauma in the series that was internalized.
The fridging of Perrin, it's funny because I was trying so hard not to tank the show, right? Like, I wanted, so when they made that choice, I remember saying on my like video review, like, I remember saying, I don't like it, but I'm going to give it time. I'm going to see what they do with it. And then they proceed to absolutely do not only nothing with it, but you didn't make it this far. Have Perrin have like a weird love triangle with Perrin and Egwene and Rand, where he like expresses feelings for Egwene. And I'm like, you just fridged this dude's wife? Don't deal with any of the trauma symptoms from that. And then have him like move on to Egwene in the same space. And that's when I gave up on it.
So we mentioned Jake earlier, Man Caring Thing. Did you watch his breakdown? He did an hour-long video on why
Wheel of Time was bad. Yeah.
And he breaks down like the character relationships and how it's a failure of character progression because Rand and Egwene just keep cycling back to the same point in their relationship without any actual character growth. And I 100% agreed with him. But one of the things that really bugged me was the heron. It pissed me. It pissed me off so quickly because it was dumb fan service. They zoomed in on it and said, "Look what we put in the show for you."
I said that in my final. I don't know if you've watched my final takedown of the show, but I talk about that.
It's like, not only did we put it in the wrong place, but he's never going to use this sword.
Never going to use it. It's never going to be commented on. When, like, in the book, it is commented on, like, constantly. Yeah. How do you have that heron mark blade? How do you have that heron? Like, I was like, the worst part of this is it would take. Okay, here we go. Okay, you know what? You asked me about it, Andrew, so here we are. I'm going to just get angry about it again. I don't know what episode it was. 4, maybe. You have this whole episode about this warder we don't care about with long, dramatic crying scenes. I don't know. Was that episode 4? Did you see this episode where his Aes Sedai dies?
I know of it. I think that was episode 5 or 6.
Okay, so maybe you didn't watch it. And all I could think of is, like, could you just take 2 minutes? No. 30 seconds to add a single line where someone questions Rand about the sword. Like, the worst part is, like, it would take so little time to have just to question it. But the interesting thing is I had followed the show progress beforehand. Now I don't follow it at all. I just don't even care. But at the time when they originally said they were going to make the Dragon a mystery and Moiraine was kind of come to the forefront, I remember specifically reading that it was going to be the first couple of episodes. So I thought in my head, like, oh, they're going to make the Moiraine the main character for episodes like maybe 1 and 2. And I was like, what a great idea. And then we'll figure out it's Rand. And because in my head, the first 2 episodes are probably going to be in Eamon's Field. So I was like, oh, it makes tons of sense. Then maybe the last thing in episode 2 will be like the scene where he's carrying his dad or something. And that's when we realize, okay, I know, Andrew, I'm upset about it too. So I was on board because I thought, oh, that's such a cool way to make it a mystery for like the first little bit. And then we figure it out. I remember watching and being like, Zach, are they really making this a mystery for the whole season? Because it makes Rand the most boring character because they can't do anything with him because it'll be immediately obvious. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it was an absolute failure on all fronts. Just with Nynaeve being this killing machine who kills a Trolloc and joins the party later, which
when Nynaeve tells Rand, sorry. When Nynaeve tells Lan that Moiraine has a tell, I wanted to blow my brains out. Sorry, that's violent for a YouTube channel. I wanted to cease to exist. I was like, Lan's entire thing is that he has been her warder for so long. They know each other so well. And Nynaeve, you're the one who's going to tell Lan she has a tell? Like, please.
So
you didn't get to that point. You didn't even know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, wait. I got to say it, though. Okay. Moiraine leaves with Rand, and Lan doesn't know where Moiraine is. And so Nynaeve has to teach Lan how to find her.
Oh, no. Never happened. The point is, there's no point for Nynaeve to even be in the show.
No.
She had no reason to go after them because they were full-grown adults.
Oh, that's true too. I mean, I was fine that I one of the nitpicky things I was really annoyed about and continue to be annoyed about is that because they changed who was Ta'averen, I think it actually significantly changes Egwene's story.
Yeah, it takes away her agency.
It takes away her agency because one of my favorite things, especially on a reread of Egwene, is like how she refused to be left behind. And that, to avoid spoilers, but like you would obviously know later on in the series, like Egwene becomes like quite a character who influences events in a major way. And so the fact that she's not that is actually more interesting for her character because she just like, so that was like the only change I liked actually in the show. You never made it here. Episode 8 was horrible, but they put Rand in a dream sequence and it looks a lot almost identical to the test that Egwene has to go through in book 2 to become an accepted. You know how she goes like through the Terrain Girl, and she envisions this life with her and Rand married. And Rand kind of gets that instead. And I thought, you know what? In the book, I always thought it was weird that Egwene dreamed that, because to me, Egwene never really actually wanted that. Like, she was the one who always wanted to leave Eamon's Field. You know what I mean? But Rand, I truly believe, would have been happy at Eamon's Field forever, marrying Egwene, having kids. And so I actually liked that they gave him that kind of like dream sequence, because it felt true to his character. Like, yeah, that is what he would have desired. But other than that, it was a whole hot mess.
They wrecked the White Cloaks suck through and through. Like, they suck in the books, but they were particularly bad. Like, because he's just like, when you first meet a White Cloak, he's like sitting at a tent eating a bird that's gonna hurt his mouth. But like, there's like severed hands.
Subtlety.
Say what?
It lost all subtlety.
Yeah, it did.
The things I liked about the show. Look, I actually quite liked most of the casting. I will give it that. Like, actually, I did enjoy most of the casting.
I didn't have a problem with the casting or the acting. It was just the story, and from what I saw of the Ogier,
I did not like his look.
That it was wrong.
It was.
If
wrong.
We can do forced perspective in 2001 for the Lord of the Rings.
Or Hagrid in 2001 as well.
Loyal. There we go. Loyal. I was like, why can't I think of his name? Yeah.
Loyal. Actually, a lot of the CGI looked bad, but for me, like, CGI doesn't matter very much to me. Like, if a show is good, have you ever watched the show Merlin?
Yeah.
Okay, like, Merlin has terrible CGI. I love that show. That show is just like, I love it.
Like the 70s and 80s Doctor Who. They have monsters made of bubble wrap.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
When everyone was like complaining about how some of the CGI looked, I was like, that it just doesn't really bother me. Like, if the show had been really good, it wouldn't have bothered me if it looked cheap sometimes. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But good. We have a lot of Merlin fans. Merlin is such a great show.
It was amazing. I don't know. There was a lot of carryover between Doctor Who, and I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. There's a lot of carryover between Doctor Who and Merlin, mainly because the UK only has 10 actors and actresses.
Literally, they're in everything. I mean, I always laugh when I see David Tennant in Harry Potter 4. Like, that's the only thing I remember is shows up in Harry Potter 4.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is David Tennant? Like, anyway, he wasn't the Doctor at the time, though, I don't think.
No, no.
I don't think he was.
I think it was just prior to him getting cast.
Yeah, I think it was still on Echelon. No, Eccleston.
Yeah,
Eccleston.
I think he had been cast, because Goblet of Fire came out in 2004.
The movie?
Yeah.
Oh, was it 2004? That tracks. Yeah.
I think, and then he didn't become the Doctor until 2006.
Okay. Yeah, so I
prior.
Doctor Who is one of those weird things where I know a lot of information about Doctor Who because my sister is a diehard Doctor Who fan.
Your sister sounds amazing.
But I have never seen it, so I always find it funny because, well, I watched one episode.
I've got my TARDIS right here.
But I know, it's beautiful. So it's funny because I have like all of these opinions about Doctor Who that are based on nothing but secondhand information. Should I make you mad and just like say a bunch of random opinions I have?
Sure.
Okay, who's your favorite Doctor first of all, though? Can I guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
I feel like your favorite Doctor must be one from like the original run. Is that true?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is it 4?
4th is my second favorite.
Dang it. 4th is my sister's favorite, so I feel like it's a safe guess to just like...
That's because he's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
He is the one that... He was in the role for 8 years.
Yeah. So who's your favorite?
The second.
The second one, okay.
Yeah, the second one. I love Patrick Troughton. He had some of the best companions. Awful costume and casting. But like they tried to make an Englishman like a Scotsman, but like he was a Scotsman from the Highlands with a Beatles haircut. So like he had the Beatles bowl cut, and he was clearly British. It was fantastic. I loved everything about it. Like Fraser Hines is a national treasure. So I'm not dissing on Fraser Hines, but I think Jamie as a companion is hilarious. So yeah, but no, I love the second. But if we're talking modern, it's 11. I like Matt Smith.
Okay, that's so funny because I think my sister's second favorite is Matt Smith. I don't know. She's not on
here. I've met McCoy. I've met him in person, and he's fantastic.
So I did a reel where I triggered fandoms. Did you see my second one with Doctor Who?
I've seen them both.
Okay, because I texted my sister and I was like, "Hey, this is what I have. Like, is there anything you could tell me that would make it worse?" And she was like, "It's good," but she's like, "The important thing you have to do is not refer to him as the Doctor. You have to refer to him as Doctor Who." Because she's like, the most triggering thing to me is when people call the character Doctor Who. She's like, the show is Doctor Who. The character is the Doctor. I was like, okay. And people don't get it. In the comments, that is the thing that people are most angry about. They're like, you have to say the Doctor. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
So there's actually some funny history there before we wrap up. We'll end up on a fun history note that actually changed. The actors used to refer to him as like the people who played the Doctor referred to him as Doctor Who back in like the 70s and 80s. But when we kind of reached the late 80s to the 90s and the 2000s, it flipped to he's just the Doctor. So there was a generation shift to where a lot of people, like if you go back and watch old interviews, a lot of people just refer to him as Doctor Who.
Okay. I think the Doctor is snappier.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah, so in the credits, it will literally say Doctor Who. And then the modern, it's the Doctor. So there was kind of a generation shift there. That's just kind of my last nerd tidbit before we wrap up.
I love a nerd tidbit. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on and hanging out with me, having a blast, raging at the Wheel of Time, talking about the Indie Fantasy Fund, and Zach's amazing cosplay costume. I do have your channel linked in the description box down below. If people don't know where to find you, they can check right there and just click the link. And I also have a link to Zach's website for SBFBO9, where you can follow the competition and see who's getting eliminated next.
Yep, exactly. Just hacksaw over here. Just rude.
Luckily, we haven't like put that out.
No, we haven't asked anybody
yet. Yeah, we haven't.
I think we're going to try to do a live semifinalist reveal. So
I would love to do that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
So, that's all I've really got for you guys today. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. It was amazing.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
We're gonna
I spent a lot of time angry.
Oh, it's fine. I had a great time. We are going to do the long goodbye. So, peace out, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.